Lyme can lay dormant in your body for years, if not ever. So I got bit in '04. I didn't get sick till '08.
Welcome to Root Cause Holistic Health. I'm Dr. John Harmon, physician, brain health expert, and your host on this no-fluff journey into whole body healing.
And I'm Tracy Green, wellness coach, mom, and co-host. This is the space where we get real about what actually heals, not just what's trending.
If you're done with surface level advice and ready to understand your body, your mind, and your health from the inside out, this podcast is for you.
We're here for the raw conversations most people avoid. We don't sugarcoat, we don't shame. We offer tools, truths, and transformation.
Welcome back, friends, to Root Cause Holistic Health. We are very excited and honored that you have chosen now to spend a little bit of time with us. Have you ever been told it's all in your head? You're fine, don't worry about it. You'll get better eventually.
And if you have, there's a pretty good chance that you had Lyme disease, and it took you a very long time to actually get the proper diagnosis because most doctors don't even look there. Our guest today, Tanya Hoebel, went through a 13-year journey, 7 of it before she even got diagnosed with Lyme disease. The symptoms are so varied, and that there isn't 1 or 2 or 3 symptoms that are diagnostic of Lyme disease. And so the patient, the person who has the illness, the Lyme disease, has to turn into a detective. Tanya's journey was so long and arduous and expensive to her health, her finances, that she turned that hardship into a passion to help people who have Lyme disease in the, quote, her words, Lyme community, because people have had to join together to share information and data that they have acquired through their journey. They didn't always get it from a healthcare practitioner. So we want to introduce to you Tanya Hoebel, and we'll let her tell you how she is reaching out to people and to help them on their Lyme journey through her podcast. But Tanya, welcome to the show, and tell us how you got here, how you got, first of all, how that all started.
Right. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. As you mentioned, I do have my own podcast. It's called Lyme and Beyond with Tanya. But I'm excited to be with you guys today because yours is more of a wide array, right? Like mine is a kind of a little niche. And so I think it's so important for people to, like you said, Tracy, have you been told, you're crazy or it's in your head or nothing's wrong with you? I oftentimes don't think people even register in their mind that it could be Lyme disease because, like me, I didn't even know what that was. I thought it was something dogs got. I mean, that is how uneducated I was. And so I was one of the fortunate ones who actually got a bullseye rash. So if you get a bullseye rash, you 100% have been infected with the bacteria. But I didn't know what a bullseye rash meant. So I get a bullseye rash. In 2004, I had just purchased a new home. I was landscaping the front yard and I went and took a shower. I remember vividly, it was a Sunday night, took a shower, went to bed, woke up the next morning, and the first thing that popped into my head was, what have I been itching down on my ankle all night long? Like I just remember itching my ankle all night. So I looked at my ankle and I had this bullseye rash and I thought, oh my gosh, there's a spider in my bed, right? So I throw all my blankets off and I don't see anything. And I thought, well, that's really weird. By the time I took a shower and drove to work, I could hardly walk. It was right down on my ankle. I could hardly put pressure on my foot. And I thought, wow, this is really weird. So that's why educating and, informing other people and just being curious about things can really save your life, because had I known what a bullseye rash meant, I wouldn't have gone down a rabbit hole for 7 years to try to figure out what it was.
Did you even see a tick?
No, in fact, up until just last year, I had never even seen a tick in real life.
Oh
So
man.
the
Wow.
tick obviously got me in my front yard in Northern California, which, they say ticks are not all
Oh yeah.
across the states. Yeah, they do not discriminate. They cross state lines. They don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, like they just don't care. They will get you and they are everywhere. And just because it's wintertime does not mean you are safe. They're everywhere all the time.
Oh, I didn't
That is
know that.
something
I
that I
thought
didn't know. Yeah.
me either. I thought it was a seasonal thing. So when I lived in Idaho and I'd go running up in the foothills, if it was later in the season, I wasn't worried about it with the dogs because I thought cooler weather, they weren't
Yeah.
out as much. That's interesting.
And it's really scary because I remember being a child and, your parents are raking the leaves in the yard and we would just go play in them and roll in them and throw them. And of course, we'd get yelled at. I just raked that pile, get out of it, right? But that's like one of the most dangerous places that you can allow your children to roam into is because when the weather gets cooler, you've got these things. It's kind of like their little hibernation area. So you will find a lot of ticks hiding within raked piles of leaves.
I remember going to a seminar. It was with Dr. Schallenberger in Reno, Nevada, and there was a doctor talking about Lyme disease, and he was saying how so many doctors don't even think it existed in the West. It was all back east, and that was it. And now it's pretty much global, isn't it?
It is, yes. And there are still some, I think, very confident Lyme literate doctors. And I still oftentimes hear people say, no, they're not very prevalent there. Prevalent
Yeah.
or not, if they're there and the possibility is there, you
Yeah.
need to be aware.
Oh my gosh. Why do you think people are misdiagnosed so much?
I think because, well, for one, our testing is inaccurate. So when you go to your primary care, you're going to get either an ELISA test, which is very inaccurate. If there's anything that may trigger on there, then they will probably do a Western blot test, which is almost just as inaccurate. So that's the problem with, first of all, the testing. So in order to get an accurate diagnosis, you have to go to a specialty lab. There are multiple of them, but there are three that I am particularly recommend all the time. And there's one called IGenix in Palo Alto, California. There's one called Armin Labs in Germany, and then Galaxy Diagnostics.
Is
So
that
those are the
ARMAND, Armand, or A?
ARMIN.
Oh, Armand.
Armin
Okay.
Labs, yes, in Augsburg, Germany. And there's some other ones that are really good, like Vibrant is also a very well-known one that a lot of people utilize. I believe they're pretty good with Lyme, Borrelia, but I don't think they're as good with the co-infections. Again, my personal opinion, my personal experience, and just seeing what happens in the Lyme community. So I kind of steer towards the three that I mentioned. So that is the problem. And then also the fact that our symptoms can be so random. So most people either get the pain issues, where they have one day they can hardly walk, but then the next day they're fine. Or, just migrating pain all over. Or some people get the neurological side of things where they have no pain, but their brain doesn't work right. They can't recall, names and words. And then you can be an overachiever like myself and get both. So
So
I
wait, so wait,
had
so wait, you don't always have to have the bullseye to have Lyme. That's a misconception.
correct.
Okay.
A couple misconceptions, and I'm glad that you asked that, Tracy. So, a couple misconceptions are you have to have a bullseye rash, and that is not true.
Okay.
And one of the other biggest ones that I even still see Lyme literate doctors telling patients is that if it was not attached to you for a certain amount of time, it cannot transmit the bacteria. And it is 100% not true because my tick, I guarantee you, bit and ran. So it was not attached. If it
So
could,
you had a chicken tick.
yes. Of course I did. He
I'm
was
gonna I'm
chicken. He
gonna
was
bite and
scared.
run.
Yes. So those are the two things. If you get a bullseye rash, 100% you've been infected, but you don't most people do not get a bullseye rash. So that's why I said I was one of the lucky ones that did. Unfortunately, I wasn't educated.
Well, because you talk about other symptoms, brain fog, everything else. I mean, we've talked about all kinds of stuff on this show, and it's crazy that people get undiagnosed all the time because there's so
It's
many different symptoms.
non-specific, you know,
Yeah.
doctor, I
Yeah.
have brain fog. Well,
Yeah.
And there's even some people that just have GI issues. I mean, not another symptom in the world other than just GI issues, and it can all be stemmed from Lyme disease. And actually, I might take this time to just mention this real quickly because it popped into my head. So, Lyme can lay dormant in your body for years, if not ever. So, I got bit in '04. I didn't get sick till '08.
Oh, wow.
So, what happens is our immune system is strong and doing its job. And when you have any type of an emotional or a physical trauma, it shuts down your body and allows the pathogens to take over. So, divorce, car accident, death in a family, COVID, any type of thing that is going to traumatize your body can one bring out the dormancy of Lyme that you never even knew that you had. And we saw that a lot during the COVID years. They thought it's long haul COVID.
and you know
Well,
what, Tanya, that would make it even more difficult to diagnose because it was, I went to a divorce and then the doctor says, "Oh yeah, you're really stressed out. Here's some Xanax,
yes,
or
yes.
here's something,"
Yeah.
um, and
And we
which
get that a
adds
lot
to the problem.
with people that just have children, right? Well, of course your body's all out of whack. You just,
Right.
you're sleep deprived. Well, it was the trauma on your body delivering the baby that triggered the Lyme. So it's
Interesting. You know what,
it's
to
it's scary.
that same topic, Tanya, at that conference I went to, they said that another problem with Lyme, and you alluded to it or actually spoke to it, and that is they're able to hide and retreat into biofilm. So a person will go to the doctor, they get diagnosed with Lyme disease, they give them some antibiotics, and then they're good. I feel great. And then 2 months later, they're right back where they were because the Lyme sensed the danger somehow and then retreated into the biofilm, and the antibiotics can't get through the biofilm. Many medicines cannot.
Yes. No, you're exactly right. And the general, I guess protocol for when you have an acute infection, you just got bit. Um, a lot of times your symptoms don't start right away. But if you have the bullseye rash, that's, your telltale sign. But if you have a fresh bite, a fresh infection, doxycycline, antibiotics
Hmm.
are the choice, and they're fabulous. But it's when we don't catch it in time, right? When we become chronically ill with Lyme, which I believe is anywhere from 6 to 8 to 9 months of being infected, not being treated, is when you're considered Lyme disease. And then it just literally goes into remission. But yes, when you said that, and so I personally feel like antibiotics are for fast growing infections, right? Like Dr. Harmon, I'm assuming
Right.
you can acknowledge that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Lyme is not fast growing. Lyme is very slow growing. And so why does it work with new infections? Don't know. I'm not a doctor, right? But that's why I believe when you have chronic Lyme disease, antibiotics should not be your first choice. Not saying they don't work, and they work for a lot of people. But just like you said, Dr. Harmon, when the antibiotics enter your body, these spirochetes, these pathogens are like, oh my gosh, that is danger. Let's go build a little cyst and hide behind it, kind of like
Yeah.
getting your little metal shield. And they hide, and that's why you feel well. But what happens is they continue to build more and more of these biofilms. And it's those biofilms that are really hard to break down when you're going through this journey. And so we go in remission with chronic Lyme disease. We don't actually, I don't believe, some doctors have, different thoughts, but is there an actual cure for it? No, because I think there's so many biofilms that are in our body. There's some spirochetes hiding, right? Like I've been well for several years and have had no issues, but you could pull a muscle at the gym. Spirochetes were hiding behind that muscle, right? And then they're out, and then you're sore and have these issues. And so I just think that not only do antibiotics really cause a lot of biofilms to be created in your body, they also, as we all know, wreak havoc on your gut. And it's not just a couple of weeks of antibiotics. When I was offered that option for treatment, it was PIC line. It was probably 2 years. And I was like, what?
Wow.
So it's a long haul with antibiotics when it's chronic.
So let's talk about biofilm for a minute.
Okay.
There are whole departments in universities studying biofilms. And what happens is these pathogens are able to make, for lack of a better word, a little snot cocoon. Biofilm is and viruses, bacteria, fungi, and parasites all live in a happy commune in this biofilm. You could have all kinds of things living in that biofilm. And you can imagine, or one can imagine, if you start breaking up the biofilm, you better have some arsenal to kill things off and also to absorb and suck up all of the toxins that are given off by that. And so people think, okay, well, I'm going to take these strong antiparasitics, these strong antibacterial, antiviral, and something to break up the biofilm. You're not going to feel so well when that starts to break apart. And Tanya, I'm sure you have some experience with that.
Absolutely. So I love that they're doing studies on this because I'm sure it's not doesn't just happen with Lyme disease. I'm assuming
No,
there's a lot of things that it happens with. Yeah. So I think that, so many times, and like you mentioned, it took me 7 years to get a diagnosis, right? And I mean, my first diagnosis and my last diagnosis was you're crazy. It's all in your head. If you
may I
don't
ask you a
see,
question at this point?
yeah.
How much money had you spent by that time?
Oh, good question.
By the time I got my diagnosis,
Yes.
well, I remember this. I don't remember a lot of things super vividly, but this is one of them. It was 7 years, and I spent $700,000 out of pocket at this
Oh,
point.
Tanya.
my
And I
word.
remember this because, life goes on. I still had to file taxes. And I remember my brother would go with me to my tax appointment, and we had the same tax guy. And he said, okay, what about medical expenses? I said, oh, yeah, I can write them off. No, no. And I said, yeah, I have $100,000. And he goes, no, for reals, you need receipts. And my brother chimes in and says, oh, she's got them. And trust me, that's how much she spent. It was basically $100,000 every year for the first 7 years. I reached out to an attorney because I had great health insurance. Why aren't they covering anything? I thought somebody's got to be held accountable. And they considered everything that I did investigational because
Oh my.
everything came back that nothing was wrong with me. And
So
that's why I got
all of
the
this and insurance didn't cover it. Oh,
nothing. Yeah,
It's
nothing
all in
because
your head.
everything,
It's
yeah,
all
it
in
was
your
all
head,
in my head.
Tanya.
Yep. On paper,
yeah.
I looked like, a picture of perfect health.
Did you
And
say, I agree with you? Some of it is in my head. That's why I have brain
it,
fog,
it
can't
is.
remember
The
my name.
Lyme is in my head. Yes.
Wasn't there a time when you couldn't remember your name? I think I remember you telling me
That
that.
was, yes, that was kind of my turning point. And it was
I'd
about,
say.
um, well, I want to say about 4 years in is actually when I became suicidal. And I know that's not what you asked me, but I wanted to bring that up because, I was very ashamed of it for many, many years because I've had friends throughout the years. I've known people that have committed suicide, and I always thought it was how chicken of you. Like, you know what I mean? How unfair.
We all
Um,
do that. And,
Right. And I guess until you go through something like that, you really don't understand it. But
no.
when you're being told over and over that nothing's wrong with you, it's
Quit
all in your
faking it,
head.
Tanya.
Yes. Yes. You're overworked, you're
You're just trying to get
overstressed,
attention.
you
You're
want
sick
attention.
because you think you're sick.
Right.
Do
You
you hear those too?
hypochondriac.
Yes.
Yeah. And so at, about 4 years in, I lost hope because if nothing's wrong with me, I can't hardly walk. I can't hardly work. I can't hardly drive because I got lost. I would drive past the same courthouse I went to for 17 years and end up in another town calling my mom crying, Mom, I don't know where I am. I don't know where I'm going.
Did you get to
And
the point where if this is it, then I don't want to be here? Was
And
that
that was it.
was
Yeah,
that your
that
thought
was about
process?
4 years, was that if nothing's wrong with me, I can't get well. And something is wrong with me. I can't live like
Wow.
this. And it was even so much that, of course, I was planning on how I was going to do this. And my brother passed away from an illness when he was 22. So my parents had already lost a child, right? Which is devastating. With the Lyme bacteria in my brain, not thinking properly, combination of it, right? I'm literally talking myself into the fact that my parents are going to understand that I'm going to take my life. They're going to forgive
Wow.
me. They know how much pain I was in. And that's not one logical thinking, right? But
Right.
it's you get so desperate, you get so hopeless, and then again, the bacteria in your brain. But yes, so that was about 4 years in. But back to your original question, Dr. Harmon, was yes, I was about I want to say a little over 6 years into this. And I was in court one day, and the judge asked my name and who I represented, and I didn't know my name.
Oh, wow.
And talk about embarrassment. And
Oh,
that's one thing that isn't sticking strongly in my brain. I don't really know what happened. I mean, the judge knew me, right? He's known me for years, but still, for the record, you have to say your name and all that. So I don't even know what took place. All I know is that when I went home that night, I called my parents and I said, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to die. If they don't figure out what's wrong with me, I'm going to die. And so it was at that point that I decided I'm going to close my business, quit my job, give away my house, move back to my hometown. I've got to be close to my family because something is wrong with me. This is not okay. And if it continues to go on, I truly think I'm going to die.
wow, Tanya. And that makes me wonder how many of the annual suicides in this nation are from things like that, and how many of them have Lyme disease, and they're so frustrated and broke. They don't have any money anymore. They've spent it all. It's not covered by insurance. And they go, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
done.
it's It's easy to do, and that's why, that's why I brought it up because I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I think it's something that we need to talk about because people need to understand that they're not alone in this thinking, right? Like they're not being irrational. They're not, of course, we don't want you to do that. And there is hope. I'm walking proof of that, right? I went from having a caregiver, being bedridden, not knowing my name, and for 4.5 years, I've been 100%. I completely have my life back. So there is so much hope. And, and that's what my podcast is all about, is just sharing success stories to give hope to those people that are battling, whether it's Lyme or it's not Lyme, any type of chronic illness that you're going through, it's tough. And we don't often get validated for what we're feeling.
What you
So,
just said is going to be
wow.
very hopeful for a lot of people. The fact that
Good.
you overcame not even being able to remember your name,
Yeah.
that's a big thing. Tracy, you had something.
I did. So walk us through the treatments. How you got to where you are now, 4 years later.
Tanya's thinking, how many years do you have?
Yeah.
Yeah,
How long
exactly.
do we
Let
have?
alone how many hours, right?
How long do we have?
So at this point, right? So about the 6 year mark was when I'm just throwing in the towel with my life and going to focus on me and what's wrong with me. So I, transition out of my career, all that. I get moved, and I ended up. So it was about a year. I ended up getting an actual IGeneX test. So I had a pain doctor because I did not even take an aspirin for a headache. I just didn't take medications. And I was on fentanyl, Dilaudid, and
Oh
morphine
my.
all at the
Oh,
same
Tanya.
time. And it
Wow.
didn't even maybe 50% of the pain. So I was, like a walking pharmacist. It was horrible. But it was my pain doctor who I always give the credit to because for probably 2 or 3 years, she kept telling me I had Lyme disease because she had it. And I
Mm.
said, I've been tested. And I don't believe she at the time knew that the testing was so inaccurate. But she did tell me I needed to go see her doctor. And I called him up, and it was going to be, I think, $5,000 to go meet him and have him submit the test.
And no
That
insurance.
didn't cover the price of the
Wow.
test, which was about $1,500. And I'm like, I'm out. You can't, if you don't have it, you don't have it. So
$5,000 for the visit?
yes, yes,
Wow.
yes. So I called IGenics directly. Now, mind you, listeners, this was 2015. So I don't think they do this anymore. But I called up. I'm like, hey, is there any way I can get a test without a doctor? And they're like, sure, give me your credit card. I'll send you a kit. Okay. So I get the kit and I'm like, now who's going to draw my blood? My doctor wouldn't do it because they thought I was crazy. I went to the hospital and they were so kind. They said, we're familiar with these tests. We'll get it all packaged up and mail it for you. I'm like, fabulous. So
Fantastic.
I
Wow.
get my Lyme diagnosis. So at that point, I had lost all hope in traditional Western medicine. I mean, they were going to leave me for dead. However, I did do a consult with a well known Lyme literate doctor that was really close to my hometown. And that was the one who, 2 years, PIC line, antibiotics. And I thought, okay, well, insurance will pay for part of it. It's kind of in my backyard, super convenient. And then I went to another integrative clinic that was out of state, $20,000 to walk in the door. And I had to move there for at least 6 weeks and like just everything that did not sound convenient. But that was the route I went because I didn't want to be on antibiotics. I truly thought antibiotics were going to kill me. And then again, I had lost hope in traditional Western medicine.
Sure.
So, kind of fast forward, I went to an outpatient clinic. I went Monday through Friday, and we did a lot of things. So, I'll kind of touch on some of the highlights that were game changers for me because there is no one size fits all. Not one person is going to get well the same way. And that's one of the frustrating things about Lyme disease. But hyperthermia was a big thing for me. And so I know that some clinics are doing hyperthermia now. And my understanding from having guests on my show is that they put you to sleep, they put you under, and then they raise your temperature and then they lower it and wake you up. Gosh, I wish that was available when I was sick. So, my hyperthermia, I was wide awake. So, they would raise my temperature and I got to where I could calculate it pretty well. Once I hit 105, I would be at 107 in about 40 seconds. So I had a very small window to start bringing that fever down. And when your body temperature is that elevated, it'll kill off anything, including yourself, right? So think of like if you've ever stubbed your toe, like that toe is going to hurt again when your body temperature is raised like this. It brings everything out. I shake in convulsions. I would have to bite on my mom had a little rubber keychain I had to put in my mouth so I didn't bite my tongue or break my teeth because you just shake in convulsions. And so that was one thing that I feel was one of the big game changers for me. I did a lot of blood ozone, which I think is fabulous. Lymphatic treatments, high dose vitamin C, which was really great.
How high,
Um,
Tanya?
I don't know. They were
Okay.
IVs. And like
Oh,
Dr.
yeah,
Harmon,
that's
I
hard to
I
tell.
I, I
Yeah.
had all of my records because I kept everything, but I lost it all in the fire. So I have none of my documentation from that clinic journey, which is kind of a bummer.
Tanya is
Um,
alluding to a fire, and on top of the Lyme, her house was burned down in the Paradise Fire, and
Mm.
she in her car almost burned down as well. Am I wrong, Tanya?
No, you're very right. Yep. Left my house with my dog, my purse, and I was in my pajamas. I drove through the fire for 5 hours, called my family, said my goodbyes. Like there was no way I was going to get out alive. And
It's a
obviously I did.
miracle that you're here.
So
Wow.
yeah, lost. I mean, that was one of the most important things I lost was my records, right? Who says that?
Wow.
But yeah,
And here I
so
am asking you what your vitamin C dose was. Sorry.
no, all good. But yeah, it was IV. Um, I know that I did that a couple of times a week. I did the ozone like once a week. I did hyperthermia every single day. Um, Lymphatic treatments, colonics, uh, lots of detoxing, right? Lots of detoxing, building your gut health up, ionic foot baths, red light therapy, so many of the modalities that a lot of people utilize today, but it was nice because it was in a clinic, kind of like a one-stop shop, which was great. Um, I luckily my mother flew in from out of state to go and rent a house with me there because I couldn't have done this on my own. I was too sick. Um, I'd get done with treatment and I'd get home and here I just had this shake and bake with this fever so high and I know I have to eat, but all I wanted to do was go to bed. And so, my mom was there to provide me with, healthy foods and, just truly be my caregiver and forever grateful for her for that.
Yeah, I'd say. What a journey. And so sad that our medical community isn't stepping up and getting really good at that. I think with RFK and who else was that? Who was bringing shedding light on the disease called Lyme disease just a few weeks ago?
Right. Well, yeah. And it was, last month was a big month for the Lyme
Mhm.
community
Yeah.
because, RFK Jr., he had the roundtable with HHS, and himself and his children dealt with Lyme disease. And so
Oh,
I
yeah.
just
They
don't
lived
think,
right in the
yeah, there's
the
no better
epicenter
person to
back
be in
there,
our
man.
corner, right? And it's not a political thing whatsoever. It's the fact that somebody is going to validate us and
Hmm.
somebody is going to work towards making changes because they are acknowledging that what we go through is not okay. So I'm excited for the upcoming changes with that for sure.
And you've been in the forefront of bringing awareness to this, and I just want to you know, compliment you on your tenacity. And I know that you're not out there trying to have people buy a bunch of things from you either. You're just getting this information out of concern for helping people avoid what you went through. That's what I see.
100%. Well, thank you. I appreciate your kind words. And yes, because being in the community for so many years now, you see health coaches and life coaches and, holistic doctors and things like that. And they're all great and they all, there's a time and place for everything. But we truly, not only do we go through the years of being gaslit, right? We get taken advantage of. You have people out there, oh, hey, you take this, you do this, you'll get well. Nobody can confidently say that because that's not the truth.
You lived that.
I lived it, right.
Hmm.
And, there are so many people that can't afford a practitioner because it's not covered by insurance.
Right.
And I just, I had an amazing, amazing support system. My friends and family believed me, for one. A lot of people don't get that from their families. I get it. It's confusing. One day we're fine, one day we're not. I think because I was always such a go-getter and such, a social butterfly. And just for me to just flip on a dime, like, and my garbage can in my kitchen is overflowing and I'm a clean freak. Like they knew something was wrong. There was no denying
Yeah.
that. And so I guess that was on my benefit. But I just feel people need to understand that there are so many free things out there that you can do at home without a practitioner and still be supporting your body through this journey. And people don't share the free things, right? Like you said, Dr. Harmon, everybody wants to make a dollar off of somebody. And that is not where my heart is because it took $1 million from me. And that's not okay. I didn't work my whole life and build a career and do what I did to turn it and give it back to the medical community. It's not fair. I'm thankful that I had it, um, but it's not okay. And people, I see a lot in the community, with these celebrities coming out and, they have Lyme disease. Well, yeah, they can afford to treat it. But that's what we have been led to believe. And yes, it's expensive, and so I always want to be the one to share the free information. I am happy to give you the information that I've learned during my journey because nobody did that for me. And if they did, maybe my journey would have been shorter, or maybe it wouldn't have cost me so much money. And so, yeah, sorry.
Tanya, I feel your passion and your true concern for other people going through this journey. And I just want to say thank you. I mean, you're helping a lot of people. Tell everybody your podcast again.
Lyme and Beyond with Tanya. Find it on
Lyme and Beyond with
Spotify,
Tanya.
Apple. Yes. Have a new episode drop every Wednesday. And the majority of them, I mean, when I started my podcast years ago, it was just to give hope and inspire people that no matter where you are in your journey, you can get well. And so my guests are those who have conquered Lyme. And then I do periodically have in different practitioners, and I have an upcoming session with a therapist. And so just lots of great information, free information, right? Just a great
Mhm.
resource for anybody out there that's struggling and need some guidance and some hope.
Do you have a PDF that people can download or anything like that? More information, or could you send them some if they reach out to you?
They absolutely can, yes. And I do share, all the information I have on my Lyme and Beyond with Tanya Facebook page, all the tips and tricks, all the things I think you need to do, and any free advice that I can offer.
Now, Tanya, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And, the only thing is, why would you say this is a blessing? I watched your face, and I know that you're as passionate as I am about vaccines and everything that my passion. I just want to say babies. That's my passion. And I feel that we're the same like that. I can just feel you like this is your
Hmm.
passion. Why would you say this is a blessing?
I'm glad you asked that because I had somebody be not so kind online the other day when I said it was a blessing. Um, because, before I got sick, I did all the right things. I was super healthy. I went to the gym. I ate good. And you wonder why you get sick, right? Well, I wasn't as healthy as I thought I was. I was
Mm,
eating foods that we think are healthy that aren't, right? If you can take a bowl of organic berries and soak them in baking soda and see parasites come out of it,
Oh dear.
something's not okay, right? But so I learned so much about nutrition and truly health, right? And I also learned that no matter what it is in life, you have to be your own advocate.
mm,
Do not rely on anybody to make money for you, to get you well, to support you. Be your own advocate. And it gave me so much power. It's like I got this power that I never knew that I had and what I was capable of doing. And just to be able to understand my body and be able to recognize signs when something is off. I mean, that alone is huge to me because there'd be no reason to, right? Like if you get random headaches, you're getting them for a reason. Do not ignore them, right?
mhm.
Something is going on. And I just feel like I have full control over my health, my body, and I know the ways to support it, to keep me out of these doctors' offices, to keep me out of hospitals. And that alone is a blessing. And then, prior to being sick, I always volunteered. I gave back to, the food banks and, different organizations. But being able to give back the way I do in the Lyme community, it's a feeling I just can't even describe. It truly just fills my soul. And I know that I had to go through this journey to get where I am and to be able to have that empathy and that passion for it because I know during my journey I had a love-hate relationship with God. I was mad, I was angry, right? But without him I would not be here. And I believe that he put me on this path to be able to have a voice in the community. He needed me out there to be able to offer my wisdom and support. And then just all the amazing friendships I gained along this way. So it is. I live a different life, very much so. And my life was great prior to Lyme, but it's just a different kind of great now. And so just for so many reasons, it truly was a blessing.
Like,
Admirable and remarkable what you're
mm,
doing. So,
Thank you.
Tanya, thank you from the Lyme community. I'm not a part of it, but it's so needed today. And you are kind of a lone voice for a lot of people. You're probably their only comfort and hope at times, I would think.
Yeah, I certainly have become a lifeline for many other people that I help through the journey, and I wish there was more of me. There are a lot of amazing people that are helping in the Lyme community and sharing our voice. So it's not just me. It truly does take a village, but it's nice to just know that you can rely on somebody who doesn't want to gain anything from you other than see you get well.
I
Oh, I
see
love
you
that.
getting 2 weeks of endorphins when somebody tells you that you helped them. Am I wrong?
Exactly.
Two
Exactly.
weeks,
No,
baby. I'm good.
Exactly.
exactly. Well,
Yeah,
I
I
so
love that.
appreciate you guys having me on your show because I know that, like I said, mine is geared towards Lyme, right? And in these chronic illnesses, and yours is such a more wide variety of things. And so I think that this is going to reach so many more listeners that maybe need to hear this because maybe they are battling Lyme and they haven't been able to get that answer. So I appreciate you
Yes.
guys.
Thank you for your dedication, your passion, and your love for people in general, most of whom you don't even know. And I want to encourage you to continue on your journey.
Thank you so much.
You're
Tanya,
welcome.
thank you again. And thank you to all of our listeners. I know that it takes a lot to hit the play button and find a podcast to listen to. And we're part of your afternoon or morning. And we're very grateful that you've taken the time to listen to this podcast. And like we've talked about, hopefully you've gained something. And if you are struggling with some illness, a headache, something that's not going away, there are options. I know we went through a lot in this podcast. We will put all of the links that Tanya had mentioned in the show notes. So if you want to get tested, if you think that you might have Lyme disease, please go get tested for it. Could be another option and maybe just the answer you're looking for. Stay grateful, stay grounded, friends. Until next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Root Cause Holistic Health. We're here to help you uncover what's really going on and empower you to take the next step in your healing journey.
Whether you're a mom, a dad, or just someone ready to stop settling for Band-Aid fixes, we hope today's episode gave you something to think about.
If you found this episode valuable, do us a favor, share it with someone you love, and leave a review so we can reach more families like yours.
Make sure to hit follow so you don't miss next week's episode. We've got more honest conversations, practical tips, and root cause wisdom coming your way.
Until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and most of all, stay connected to what truly matters.
We'll see you next time on Root Cause Holistic Health.